Is spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars on a watch really worth it? Hey, I'm Chase, and today we're going to break down why spending a little bit more may save you in the long run. Not every person can afford to lay down $2, $5, or even $1,000 on a wristwatch. Some can only spend $40 or $50 at Walmart or Target, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to break down why it'd be better to save your money for a period of time than it is to just buy that $50 watch right now. Now, I'm going to go to Target or Walmart, and I'm going to spend the $40 or $50 to buy a watch and wear it for a week on duty. Then I'm going to show you the watch that I've been wearing for years. Let's hop into it. So I decided to go to Target. They have the best selection, I believe, of cheaper watches. And when I began looking, I found a lot of Timex watches, which is great. I'm a big fan of Timex, and I decided to pick up the Timex Expedition. Now, from what I've heard, it's a good beginner outdoor watch, so it may be good for patrol. There's nothing fancy about the packaging, as to be expected. It was a $43 watch, so go ahead and pull it out and take a closer look and go over the specs of this watch. So there is nothing on the packaging that says anything about the specs of this watch. So a little bit of research tells me that the case itself isn't made out of steel, but it's made out of brass. And it does have a brushed or matte finish. They use both terms, brushed and matte, in the description. The movement itself is a Miyota quartz movement, and it has mineral glass. It does have a really nice kind of sheen on the outside, and the band that they're using is a genuine leather band. It feels relatively cheap, but the watch is $43. The clasp or buckle on it is just a brushed buckle, and it does have a screw-down case back that offers 50 meters of water resistance, which is great because it means you can just hop right into a pool and have zero issues with its water resistance. Just to be accurate on the measurements, I'm going to use some digital calipers. The case diameter is just over 40 millimeters. It is a round case. The lug width or the band strap size is 20 millimeters, and the lug to lug or total overall length of the watch is going to be just around 50 millimeters. Last but not least, the case height or thickness is just under 11 millimeters, which means it's going to easily slip underneath that cuff if you're wearing a long sleeve shirt or dress shirt. Now, I really like this watch. It really does have a cool matte black dial. Everything is printed on the dial itself. There's nothing that stands out. I really like the orange second hand. It should be really cool. Now, it does offer the Indiglow offered as its illumination. It's just a light behind the watch that lights up the entire dial. Let me show you right here. You can see in the darkest of dark, when you hit the crown and it lights up that Indiglow, it lights up the entire dial. It is very easy to read. It is very legible, and it is very awesome. I really like the Indiglows. I think they look really cool in the dark. And on my 7¼ inch wrist, it sits almost perfectly. It is 40 millimeters in diameter. However, it sits a little small and wears a little small for my wrist size, which means it is very easy to wear on patrol, very easy to wear on duty because it slips right underneath my uniform. Now, let's wear it for a week. Overall, the watch is not a bad watch. It did take a beating. There was a spring bar failure. It fell face first, glass to the concrete, and caused a couple gouges, a couple scratches around the 12 o'clock and just between the 1 and the 2 o'clock. Now, the case itself is fine. No real scratches, no real issues. The cheap leather band was actually relatively comfortable, and if you just replaced it with a $20 strap, it probably would be even more comfortable. But the thing that drives me nuts is I like a clean dial on a watch. So the moment there's a scratch, the moment there's a gouge, I'm only going to see that. And that's this biggest downfall. And that really is my one and only complaint about cheap watches. outdoor career like a construction worker, a firefighter, so clearly the Timex Expedition did not hold up going to last the long term. So what have I been wearing for the last 4 or 5 years on my wrist? I've been wearing the Hamilton Khaki Big Pilot. That was a gift from my wife. And this thing is basically indestructible. Year after year after year, 4 days a week, 40 hours a week, I've been wearing this thing on my wrist. Now let's take it off and go over why sometimes spending more money is better in value. And here it is, my Hamilton Khaki Big Pilot, the watch that I wear nearly every day, or have worn nearly every day on patrol. I have been rotating through my watch collection, but this thing was on my wrist for year after year after year. It does have a sapphire crystal that's covering that dial, which, you know, in the Morse scale of hardness, the only thing harder than a sapphire crystal is a diamond itself. So it does last a lot. In fact, I dropped this thing on its face from about 3 to 5 feet a few years ago. Didn't cause any damage. There is scratch and there are wear on the case itself because it is stainless steel. However, it really tells you a story of how much this thing really has been beat up. But when you look at that dial, it still looks brand new, and that's what I love. You can see around the outside of the crystal, it's all scratched up, but the crystal itself is not scratched in the least bit. This one does offer a day-date complication. It is inside. It is a Swiss ETA 2836-2 movement. And you know what? You couldn't get anything better for the price of even $700, which is what I paid for this, but I'm going to recommend the Field Watch, which is under $400. The strap on it right now is a replacement strap from what I've got. Now, I wouldn't recommend getting the stock straps because they're very expensive, and honestly, it was a mistake on mine. It was like $250. I should have just gotten a $50 aftermarket strap because I've worn it on a different strap and it looks just as great. It does have hacking and hand winding. It does have a screw down crown. This watch has 200 meters of water resistance. Most dive watches have 200 meters of water resistance. Some dive watch homages have 100 meters of water resistance. It does offer a quick change day-date complication, like I said, and this thing is just great. It runs great. It runs about a couple seconds plus or minus a day, but other than that, I've had zero issues with this thing. You see it has that crystal clear dial. It's beautiful. It shines. I mean, this is quality as quality is. Now, let's actually measure it because this is a rather big watch. Now, I'm going to measure first across the entire thing to include the crown. Now, it is a big watch, like I said, and it measures at 49 millimeters. Its actual case width is 46, its lugs are 22, and its height is just over 12. Now, its total length, lug to lug, is almost 53 millimeters. It does wear a little bit big. Let me show you on my 7¼ inch wrist. Now, again, some people don't like large watches. The reason why I also wanted to recommend the Khaki Field Watch is because it's a 40 millimeter watch, so it's 6 millimeters smaller than this. I love the big look of this watch. I think it looks great. But if you want something smaller, the Khaki Field Watch is a great option because it's for smaller wrists. But this by far is my favorite watch. So some research online shows the Hamilton Khaki Big Pilot is just over $700. But I'm going to give you a better option. The Hamilton Khaki Field Watch, which online right now is under $400. It offers 80-hour power reserve, manual wind movement. It offers a sapphire crystal, the stainless steel case, and a very rugged design. Now I'm going to break down why it's better to buy the Hamilton than the Timex. So let's just say I wear the Timex 4 or 5 days a week for 6 months, and the cost was around $40. If I break that down in the cost of wear per day, it brings it down to 33 cents a day. But after about 6 months, like I said, 3 to 6 months, it needs to be replaced because it's probably going to break. Now let's take the Hamilton. I'm going to use the Khaki Field Watch because that's what I'm recommending at just under $400, but we're going to just say $400 to make math easy. Now at $400 for a Swiss watch that's worn the exact same amount of time as the Timex, except it lasts over years. I'm going to give my Hamilton Khaki Big Pilot as an example. I've worn it for over 4 years on patrol, and I've had zero issue with timekeeping or it being damaged. Now, if I break it down into that type of range, it comes down to 22 cents a day, which is 11 cents cheaper per day per wear than a Timex Expedition. And that's just right now. That doesn't say how it's going to be in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. I can guarantee you that these watches are so tough. They're built so well that they're meant to be passed down to the next generation, with just simple servicing every 10 years, every 10 years. Now, if you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below and leave a comment of what you would like to see next. Hit that notification bell because I have so many cool videos coming up in the future. Just an idea, I have a DIY bulletproof backpack that I'm going to be making. I also have some of those explosive extinguishers coming that we're going to test and mount in my patrol car if they're any good. And they were only 19 bucks. So I'll see you in the next one.